Notice for the listener. This program is an online class and workshop for our friends and family. So please, no grandstanding or large postings. Thank you for your cooperation. And welcome to Ask Dezert-Owl on the Forbidden History series. I'm NinjaCat, and I'd like to welcome any new listeners and everybody, all the regulars back. G'day to everybody, it's good to be here. This is a live call-in program. We welcome questions, so please feel free to call in on 608 566 7295. That's 608 566 7295, or you can Skype NinjaCat, all one word, NinjaCat. Just look for the white circle with the purple NinjaCat with a sword in it. Yeah, okay, let's get on with it. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of recorded history, who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were, and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the Earth-based misnomered UFOs, which are all man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind and all instituted through the four main religions of the world in particular, and used as their grand cover. Their cybercode has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology, and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical burning up of the phoenix. Desert discusses the ultimate in mind control, an ancient art, and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, print media, and religion, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it based on the ancient communication and symbol. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the very beginning of recorded history. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it because they have engineered all of it, while they are cleverly leaving us in the dark. Hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it all comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemical aerosol spraying of our sky, to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all at birth by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property. And because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, a Wall Street security. But they are all through with us now, as it is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. It says, "We are a virus upon the earth." To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on the planet Earth deserve to know. And now, here's Dezert-Owl.
And welcome to the broadcast, everybody, and hope you're all doing well out there. We've been taking a break, trying to cram some of the transliteration project. I'll be reading some of that on Sunday on the Original Thought Transliteration Project. And I'm halfway done now with the Gospel of Thomas, which is a misnomer for the star message of the atom. And it wasn't actually by Thomas, it was by Matthew, and all this came out when I started doing the research and comparing all the ancient material available. And I have another one in front of me. My voice is really down right now, I can tell, so I don't know how long I'll be able to do this, but I'm going to give it a shot. And then we're going to bring on Ninja. She's got some questions that she wanted to ask, so we're going to just do a short program today, try to get back in. We've got a schedule that we'll be doing 3 times a week, and the next one we're going to do is on Sunday, probably at 9 a.m. We'll probably do it at 9 a.m., but we'll find out for sure later on this week. Okay, and so I'm doing a book review here. I have a book in my hand. I just recently got it about just over 2 weeks ago, and it's called The Sacred Writings of Pseudo-Clementine literature. And so pseudo means, supposedly, or they think so, and these are supposed to be scholars that, produce this work, right? And yet, if you were to read this book with the fine print, and it's just shy of being 8.5 by 11 and 400, almost 400 pages, it would be bigger. It would be bigger than our what we call the New Testament, and it's all Clement. It is Clement. And not only is this book Clement, but there's also the works of Clement of Alexandria, and also First and Second Clement we find in the lost books of the Bible and the forgotten books of Eden. And so it's the great cover up, ladies and gentlemen. They try to cover our tradition, what James Moffat, who wrote the Bible, a free-flowing version in the 1920s based on his expertise on Greek. He wasn't locked in by dogma, so he's a genius in his own right and did a major work. He said that in a lecture in England, he said that of all the religious literature, the traditions that have writings, that Christianity has the smallest collection of literature of all the other sacred traditions. And that is astounding, when you realize that. But the truth is that we had a library, ladies and gentlemen. We had a library, and so I started reading this. I'm reading it in the front, I'm reading it in the back, and we got words of Peter in here. He's in here. More material by Cafe. Correctly, Cafe. Peter is a fraudulent interpolation of his title, Cafe. And I'm looking at a part I read today, and here it's called the postponement of discussion with Simon Magus. Simon Magus was the enemy of the truth, and he went toe to toe with Cafe Peter, and had some major discussions, and they're in here. But what's interesting in this particular paragraph, it starts out early the next morning. Zacchaeus came into us, and after salutation said to Cafe, Simon puts off the discussion till the 11th. But the point I focused in on was, this is Zacchaeus. This was Zacchaeus from Jericho, who was the tax collector, who was so short, had to climb a tree in order to follow. And here we see, after the resurrection, months or maybe a year later, here he is, part of the group. Here he is, he fulfilling his conversion. Okay, so what happened to all this stuff? What's going on here? And so it's the great robbery, ladies and gentlemen. We've been robbed, And so I wanted to give an example or two out of here. Now, where's my notes when I need it? Let me turn the page. Not there. Some really interesting stuff in here, and I'm wondering, where did my Post-it note go to? I set it up just before the program, and there's so much literature. It's like, okay, did I do it in the wrong book or what? Let me go to the back, because it may be with, well, there's, okay, yeah, so it's in the back. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in the front here. Well, there's where's the one about the lost? There it is. Okay. So before I go into the back, because I want to point out about this thing about manipulating scriptures, that there's nothing new under the sun, and it was done back then by the occultic, that were trying to destroy, by the priesthood that was trying to destroy the truth, because it was bad for business, and they had to try to do a number on the tradition of Yeshua. So let me start here in the front, and here it talks about the true prophet. And just under my highlights, it says, well, maybe I'll read the whole paragraph here. It's not that big. And hey, Kip, how are you doing? Good to have you. No new phone yet? Listening. Okay, well, all phones are compromised anyway, Kip, and so don't worry about it. He therefore whose aid is needed for the house filled with the darkness of ignorance and the smoke of vices, is he, we say, who is called the true prophet, but the word prophet didn't exist. It was star navigator. And so, who is the true star navigator, who alone can enlighten the souls of men, so that with their eyes they may plainly see the way of safety. For otherwise it is impossible to get to know the divine and eternal things unless one learns of that true star navigator. Because, as you yourself stated a little ago, and this is Clement writing, remember, the 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 conviction of things, the knowledge of things, and the opinions of causes are estimated in the proportion to the talents of their advocates. Hence, also, one and the same cause is now, though just, now unjust. The and what now seemed true quickly becomes false on the assertion of another. There's a lot of different opinions being thrown at us, right? For this reason, the credit of religion and piety demanded the presence of the true star navigator, that he himself might tell us respecting each particular how the truth stands, and might teach us, seed plant within us, how we are to follow concerning each. And therefore, before all else, the credentials of the star navigator himself must be examined with all care. And when you have once ascertained that he is a star navigator, it behooves you therefore to follow him in everything, and not further to discuss the particulars which he seed plants, but to hold the things which he speaks as certain and sacred, which things, although they seem to be received by the victory of light, yet are followed on the ground of the probation previously instituted. In other words, prove all things. For when once at the outset the truth of the star navigator is established on examination, the rest is to be heard and held on the ground of the victory of light, by which it is already established that he is a seed planter of truth from the tree's root. And as it is certain that all things which pertain to divine travain, knowledge, ought to be held according to the rule of truth, so it is beyond doubt that from none but himself alone can it be known what is true. And meaning, in contrast with so many other teachings out there, ladies and gentlemen, or seed plantings, it's, once we become adept and have been doing this a long time and are deep into our studies, then we can listen. I used to listen to a lot of the false teachers just because I wanted to hear some of the stuff that they were talking about, in the history, or, that was, I was interested in. So, once you know the truth, you can also see all the lies, and so that's the thing. But most people who are not following a discipline and scholarship can easily be taken in by many of the false traditions, and that's the problems that we have. The extremes are like Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormonism, and and they have all kinds of, and they're all, of course, controlled by the Illuminati, just like Catholicism and most other traditions. And if they're calling themselves Protestant, well, why would you call yourself a Protestant? That's a protester. That means you're a bastard of the Vatican, a protester. What do you do? You call yourself a protester? What are you protesting? You see? And so they got us to buy into all these terminologies and words like God, and and that have ulterior meanings that we don't ever investigate, and we just think that everything they spoon fed us from cradle, is true, correct, and complete, and not misleading. And it's all incomplete. It's all misleading when you find the truth, when you pierce the veil, look behind the curtain. So now I'm in the back of the pseudo Clementine, and it's amazing, that this book is so big and exhaustive, and you're reading about their lives, and then the people who are publishing it say, well, we really don't know if it's a legitimate document or not. We can't, because we're not smart enough to figure that one out. pseudo Clementine. No, it's Clement. It's the all-time compendium of Clement, a mind blower. Where has this been all my life? There's so much of it that came out of the library that I'm still getting new. But even today, I've got some new books, that are coming that I didn't hear, didn't know, blah, 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 didn't know about. But I know about them now, and I'm getting them because these are the treasures. These are the treasures that we put in our haven of our mind. That's the treasure in heaven. Only it's your soul. The heaven is the light, place of the light, the sun. So I'm going to read two shorts out of here, two segments, and the first one is other beings called gods. That's that term really throws us a left curve because we shouldn't. That really means the Pope, and backwards it's dog, and the dogs are the priesthood and the Freemasons. Okay, so let's hear this one. So for we ourselves also know that the royal messengers are called, and see, he uses gods here, but now, knowing the theme, that the royal messengers are called Elohim, but Elohim is a corruption for Zulafhaim, but we'll say Elohim, okay? It means and they're enlightened, okay, by the scriptures. So for we ourselves, we know that the royal messengers are called Elohim in the scriptures, the Shultres. Scriptures, remember means skip truth. We want Shultres, the sutures that tie everything together. As for instance, he who spake at the bush, the burning bush, and wrestled with Yahweh. And the title is likewise applied to him who is born Emmanuel and who is called the El Shaddai of the great Zulafhaim. Yeah, even Moses became an Elohim to Pharaoh, the Zulafhaim, though in reality he was an Ashan, a man. We don't use man because man means criminal and sinner in Old English, and in the Babylonian Talmud worse. And it's a prime root for moon, which means dead, no light. Seed of the moon is got no light. Lower creation. The same is the case with the idols of the nations, the Gentiles. But we have but one Zulafhaim, Elohim, one who made creation and arranged the universe, whose son is the Mudjekeewis, or the Messiah. Now, this was the reason I wanted to read this one coming right here. Obeying the Mudjekeewis, the Messiah, we learn then to know what is false from the scriptures. Then we get to know what is false from the scriptures when we connect with the one. So even back then, you see, they had a problem with the scriptures, and it was, in fact, ever since, especially when they came back from Babylon, because then the priesthood brought along with them the Babylonian Talmud, full of baloney and in the mud. And so they were then the manipulators. This was the legacy that put Yeshua on the cross. They weren't interested in a Messiah anymore because business was good. So you see, so the Mudjekeewis, when you connect with the one, he then leads and guides you into all truth and will show you the problems that the Shultres, the scriptures, have. Moreover, being furnished by our ancestors with the truths of the Shultres, the scriptures, we know that there is only one who has made the cosmos and the earth, the sun, earth, and moon, the stars, the great Zulafhaim of the Judean, not Jews. See, they got Jews here. They put this. This shows you how powerful the banking is, because they got themselves in all the books, and there were no Jews back then. So it's Judean, correctly, and of all who chose to worship him, our fathers, the pure thought, setting down a fixed tradition in him as the true Zulafhaim, Elohim, handed down this following to us, that we may know that if anything is said against the Zulafhaim, it is falsehood. Like the Masons hate Yahweh, right? They hate the great Zulafhaim. They hate the Father. That's why they call themselves the widow's sons, because they don't have a daddy. They put out the light. It's called the Black Sun. They embrace the moon of the darkness and hate the light. Actually, Manly P. Hall defines their light as darkness. And Masonic means Me Shon Ek, mothers, Ma Shon, sons of Ik, darkness, mother, sons of darkness, Me Shon Ik. And I shall add this remark over and above what I say. If the case be not as I have said, then may I and all who love the truth incur danger in regard to the praise of the great Zulafhaim who made us. And then another one here, I actually two more, because one is the nature of God, it, and the nature and the name of God, it. Okay, so we'll read them. Who's this God put himself everywhere in there? Even in Islam, they were, when you watch the old documentaries, and they always refer to him as God in the 1950s. And one day they just come out and start calling him Allah. So God is a generic term. It's a code term. It's about the priesthood, and all the priests, I don't care what tradition it is, they're all working against the people. They're all one. They all look different, but they're all working together underground. Okay, so the nature of God, or the Elohim. We call him Zulafhaim, or Elohim, whose peculiar attributes cannot belong to the nature of any other. For he is called the unbound, and we're going to learn about that nature just coming up. There's a really powerful piece I'm going to read right after this. I just did the transliteration today, discovered it this week, and it confirmed what I've known for a long time. And now I've got the smoking gun. That's coming up next. Okay, so we call him Zulafhaim, the great Zulafhaim, or Elohim, whose particular attributes cannot belong to the nature of any other. For he is called the unbounded, because he is boundless on every side. It must of necessity be the case that it is no other one's peculiar attribute to be called unbounded, as another cannot in the same manner be boundless. But if anyone says that it is possible, he is wrong. For two things boundless on every side cannot coexist. For the one is bounded by the other. Thus it is in the nature of things that the unengendered, or unbegotten, is one. But now that takes it back. See, now when he's talking about unengendered, now that's Yahweh. That's Yahweh, or it's mispronounced Yahweh, but that's the real Spirit Father, who's beyond our universe because he's so powerful. And Yeshua, the first made, is the Father in his stead. And that's why he's the Father, the Son, and the Spirit all in one. He is all things. And that's who it started out talking about. But once it said unbegotten, you see, that's the great Spirit of life that brought forth the universe and then formed the first atom, atom, which is Yeshua. He is all things. And he is the duplicate that we get out of the word Thomas, which is Toma, the atom, the duplicate, not the twin, but the duplicate. There's another lie they shoved down our throat all these years. Okay, so continuing here. But if he possesses a figure or form, even in this case, the figure is one and incomparable. And of course, the great logo, the sun, is his symbol. What better symbol could you have than a star? We're told we're supposed to be like stars, right? For this reason, he is called the mother star. Let me try it again. Here's the code, Most High. Most High is a code of the occultic, out of the Allah of the Vatican, Allah of the Jewish Balai Suits. Okay? The Most High is the mother star. He is called the mother star in the eye of the return. That's the logo. That's the sun. Remember, it's a symbol. It's purely a symbol. And, just like we're not the body, he's not the sun. So, what they wanted us to do is get confused with sun worship. And that way we never look at the sun, recognizing it's the only light we've got. It's the symbol of the greater light, the invisible light that's beyond, right? But it's the Stargate. It's the logo. It's the image. It's the thing that all of our solar system came out of, the children of the sun, the mother star. All the stuff they never taught us in school and never teach us in religion either. For this reason, he is called the mother star in the eye of the return, aka Most High in the code. Because being higher than everything else, or more powerful, above all, he has the universe, the entire universe, subject to him. That's when he rose from the dead. What did he say? All power in the cosmos and on earth has been given to me. All power. Well, that's quite a bit of power. All power, right? Unbounded. That's what it said here. Boundless. All power given unto him. Because he was the first made and he was and is perfect. But anything that came after him as a duplicate was made by Elohim, not by Yahweh, therefore did not have the virtue that the first made had, because the great spirit, Yahweh, makes everything perfect. But once Elohim was brought forth to make a duplicate, the duplicates, like a prototype, are not the perfect. Only the first made is the perfect, and that's part of the great mystery, and we never hear anybody talking about that. Okay, so a little bit more on now the name of God, or the great Soul of Fame, the name, which should be title, the tit is at the top, the title, and Shimon, breathe. It is the word Yahweh, who is the great Zul of Haim, his ineffable title, which all use because you maintain so strongly in regard to a title that it cannot be given to another. And Kefe, breathe. I know, now that was Simon Magnus actually asking a question to Kefe, Peter. And Kefe breathes. I know that this is not his ineffable name. So whatever he was using, here it's God, but it could have been Deus, if we're thinking of the Latin, right? Theos in the Greek. Okay, so I know that this is not his ineffable title, but one which is given by agreement among men. So it's one of that we like our corrupted scriptures, we all accept it because it's what's been handed to us, even though we find out later it's not true. But if you give it to another, you will also assign to this other that which is not used, and that as well deliberately deliberately. The name or the title which is used as the forerunner of that which is not used. In this way, insolence is attributed even to that which has not yet been spoken, just as honor paid to that which is known is handed on to that which has not yet been known. That was quite a deep sentence there. I'd have to read that again myself to grab at it. And then it's a possibility, there's a mistake in the translation. So we'll let it go at that, right? And so, yeah, it's called the Sacred Writings of Pseudo-Clementine, or Pseudo-Clementine Literature. And it's, I think it came off of Amazon, but it's translated by Thomas Smith, 1817 through 1906. That's when he lived. Printed by Create Space, North Carolina. Create Space. Oh, Create Space. Okay, one word, Create Space. Make more room. Okay, so I'm blown away, and it's small print, and I'm reading the front and the back every day. One new paragraph. Every paragraph has a title, and it's a major work. It's like I said, it's as big as our New Testament, and that's all our tradition, all our truth that they said, well, we don't really know who wrote it, and we can't understand what it says anyway, so we'll call it pseudo. You figure it out, and I did. Thank you very much. So, and want to welcome to our friends joining us here today and tuning in and or listening in the future. And hope I'm not going too fast for you. I tend to do that at times, and I'm My throat is, I'm trying to race ahead of my voice so I can get as much out as I can. Now, what happened today was uh, actually all the nail hit the wall yesterday when I found this particular work in a second collection that I had. One is in the New Testament Apocrypha, Volume 1 and 2. It's in Volume 1, and then I have another New Testament Apocrypha by M.R. James. That other one came out of Germany. Then M.R. James, came out in the 1800s, probably in England, and and then I was looking at in the other out of Germany. I was looking at this lost writing, and I probably read it like 40 years ago. I've had this collection a long time, and but yet if I read it once, that's probably the only time I read it when I was in my 20s, and then then I just went. There's so many pages to turn. You don't go back and I flipped through it like that type of thing. I didn't read the book cover to cover. It's too much. A lot of technical jargon in there. But anyway, as I was looking at it, it was like all of a sudden there it was. Now I had been telling my friends on the broadcast, and if you listen to some of the old broadcasts, you would find it somewhere, that I said, this thing about Yeshua, Melchizedek, who was Shem, correctly a Sham, the son of Nova. Melchizedek, he was Yeshua incarnate in the flesh. He was Enoch, who then never died and went back up to the sun. He was Elisha. If that's the first one, I get confused between the SH and the J sometimes. Elisha. If he's the first one that went up in the flaming chariot, that's who I'm talking about, okay? And so the point being that I could see that Yeshua kept coming to earth incarnated in these different superior character types. And because he was totally involved with his creation, he was the active agent. He was coming and going, to be involved and to help out the other people, like in Abraham, right, and all that. So there's been this coming and going, and in preparation for when he would finally come as the seed of the son, as the Mudjekeewis, the Messiah, right? So here it is. I found in the 14th verse of what's called and I'm going to read it on the broadcast, but I'm waiting for another copy to come in that might be easier than this condensed version I have with small print. I don't want to read that. I want to get this copy book, hardcover that's coming in, and it's bigger. I think will be easier to read for me. Then I'll get it on the broadcast and you'll hear it. But basically, it's the letter or the epistle of the apostles. Apostle being a misnomer, it's really Malakeh. Malakeh is correctly for apostles, and so this is like their general letter to the world. Okay, and I don't know how I missed it. How could I have missed that? But anyway, I got it now, and so I was reading the introduction to this, and then all of a sudden I'm reading about how he had come, and what I had been saying, to others. The one that I didn't refer to, which I was including with all these others that I said were Yeshua coming, Abel, Enoch, Melchizedek, right? And the other one is in these, who we call these misnomered as angels, Micah, which is Micah. He's called the archangel in the Jude, right? In the book before Revelation, Jude, he's referred to as the Michael, the archangel. Well, if he's the archangel, well, let's put it back. It's the Malakeh, or the Malakeyah, right? And that's the royal messenger, but he's called the arch royal messenger, meaning the high royal messenger. Well, you tell me who the high royal messenger is if he's not the first made, the one who made all things and is all things. You see? So Michael is not a name in the way we think of it. It is a title. and an expression. It's describing somebody, okay? And that's how they've tricked us with these words. And they've done it throughout, just like with Jacob, they changed it into James, right? Does that sound like Jacob? James? Give me a break. But the clincher was, I was saying, to my few friends that have been regularly tuning in here, that Gabriel, which is really uh, uh, Gavrezul, Gavrezul is in Yeshua, because it means giver of light. Gabriel, Gavrezul, means the giver of light. Well, who is the giver of light if it is not Yeshua, right? It's Yeshua. So now I've got the smoking gun. You ready? Okay, here we go. I call it Yeshua's entrance, and I'm putting it as an addendum in the Gospel of Thomas. And if anybody wants a copy, then hit up Ninja. You can get a copy on PDF for any size donation. And it is on, by the way, it is on Amazon now as well. So you can go there and search for the Gospel of Thomas. Use my name associated with it because I don't come up in the ranking, apparently. I'm way in the back somewhere. So Micah Hill, Dezert-Owl, and then the Gospel of Thomas, and it will come up. I better come up. Let me know if it doesn't. So here, let me take a sip of my tea because I've been rolling here. And in fact, Ninja, could we just take a break? Can we just take one musical interlude and then we'll pick it up? I think this will be a good time because we'll as soon as I read that, we'll go right into questions and answers.
Yes.
All right, Ninja, thank you. Well, don't go away. We'll be right back. You're tuned in to Ask Dezert-Owl and with NinjaCat. Time to call your friends.
And now back to you, Desert.
All right, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and good to be doing it again. You know, it's a juggling act between wanting to just transliterate these most amazing texts that have been stolen from us, and then also to balance it between broadcasts, because either one of these things alone kind of wears you down, especially at age 65. You know, a lot of energy and effort has to go into it, and but we're knocking them out. You know, we got 27 books there on Amazon now. You know, so if you do a search for a Micah Hill Dezert-Owl, all the books should come up in one shot. The link is right there, actually below the screen. Ninja got it there right at the top of the description. So do check it out. There's a lot of gems there. Okay, a lot of them. I don't want to get into that right now and wear my voice down, but do check it out. You know, literally, there was not one book um, that was purchased, you know, on Amazon last month. And I'm just going to say, I think what's happening to us on, you know, YouTube is also the same with the government run Amazonian. You know what I mean? That they do everything to suppress the spiritual truth because they're cultists at the core, you know, and they just pick a guy, you know, make him look like he created Amazon, and you know, and it's not true. None of this. Just like Columbus didn't discover America, Betsy Ross didn't make you know, the flag, and the flag is not ours. It's a Dutch Royal Jesuit British, you know, East India Trading Company slavery flag. You know, it's good. Welcome aboard, slave. Get to swab in a deck. Okay, and so we're you know, we're really toughing it out because after I've waited a lifetime to get all those books there, they managed to make it so I have no algorithm, you know. And anybody that will investigate these books will find out that the transliterations I'm doing, not to mention revealing the Indo-Germanic, but also just the transliterations themselves. When we have so many problems with scriptures, and a lot of them have been manipulated by the code and priesthoods, switch outs, corruptions, abbreviations, tense transition, all of these things. You know, so I know what I'm doing, making history, because I was not part of the convention. I was not a seminarian. You know, boy, I'm so glad I wasn't corrupted by university. I hated school. You know, and so it's our world is an amazing enigma, ladies and gentlemen. But you have to investigate. You got to be an investigator and see and read it for yourself. Okay. So before I do that read, I just want to say also an example of what happened with transliteration actually. Um, Translation is magic. Transliteration implies the literary thread, you know, the thought, not translating or literating words, but thoughts and ideas. That's the difference. You can't go from one word from the ancient into one word in the modern. Sometimes it can happen, but for the most part, it's an expansion. But you have to expand because you can't reproduce in the modern the way they thought and the way they expressed in the ancient. You know, and the example would be this: in the beginning, in Bereshith, or Ganesha, which is what Genesis means, Ganesha, and that's a word to do some research on. Um, it said that when Keva and Dictum, or Adam and Eve, uh, was being tempted, um, he said um, that the tree of knowledge, that when Keva asked the question, um, are we supposed to eat from all the trees, but is there not one that we're not supposed to eat from? Uh, and then, but then the serpent who is the Naga, and that's the wise serpent, and the question is, who is the Naga? Well, go to the Cosmic Essence channel, and it's right there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to spill the beans here because I'm going somewhere else. But when the bright and shining one, Clue, said to Keva, Eve, um, he doth know, the great Zulafhaim doth know, that when we eat from the tree of knowledge, that we will know the difference between not good and evil. That's our modern day corruption. But it was literally something you can point to in nature is the reference point and the starting point, the beginning, that the tree of knowledge of sun and moon, because those are the founding principles for creation on earth, to have life on earth. And one is, and then the abstract that comes out of sun and moon is, in us, what he said then also was that that is the tree of knowledge of light and darkness. And then the further abstract we get later on, good and evil. Well, define good for me and define evil, right? Because it said Yatsar, when at the end of every day, when it says, and it was good, like, give me a break, like, it was okay, it wasn't so bad, no, give me a break, all right? When you go look it up in the Aramaic or the Hebrew in the Strong's Concordance, it says, and at the end of that day, it was and is Yatsar. Yatsar, meaning the product of a star, meaning perfect, complete, not lacking anything. What a distinction that is in comparison, ladies and gentlemen, right? So, we've got some real problems. And people, they don't want, they'd rather, that's called the old wine. They'd rather sip on that old wine of deception and falsehood, because it's already ingrained in them, and it's easier to stay with that old wine than it is to say, wait a minute, you mean I've been lied to my entire life? I've been lied to? I bought into a lie, and everything I think I know isn't true. It's not correct. It's incomplete, and it's all misleading, leading me to the grave and not to life. So better do some investigation, ladies and gentlemen. But so here we go with Yeshua's entrance into our world at the time that was predicted by all the others. Everything was pointing to the end of the world, which was 2,000 years ago, and it states it clearly in Hebrews chapter 9, 26, 27. Go check it out. Okay, it says, and at the end of the world he came, right there in King James of all books. Okay, so here is the excerpt from the letter of the apostles, or the epistle of the apostles, verse 14. Yeshua breathes to his 11. Now you know that the royal Micah, Gabriel, Gavrezul, the giver of light, brought the message of my entrance to Medecine, which is Miriam, which is and corrupted as Mary. It's the original word is Medecine. So I put all three in here because I got to help people out. So I show you the modern that you're used to, and then I show you the transitional, middle ground, and then the original, which is Medecine, actually the same name as Egypt. I've got to throw this in because, this whole thing is everybody's been lied to. And when you hear me reading, you don't get what I'm talking about. So I've got to explain it. So I'm qualifying it. Now I'm going to try it again. Let me take a sip, and I'll get it this time. I just wanted to clarify for the new listener. Mary was a creation of the Vatican. But if you go back to all the oldest extant copies, as I have done, you find out that she was not called Mary in the most old copies. She's Miriam. But Miriam, they already corrupted all the old copies. You see that they've all been corrupted. And so my question to myself then, when I realized that, when I finally discovered that, was then what did they create Miriam out of? And immediately I could see it. Miriam is a corruption of Medecine. Medecine, which literally means May, for the mother's creation. Springtime in the northern hemisphere. May is the most beautiful month before it gets too hot in the summer. Everything is springboarding. Meitzar, zar is the word for the star. Medecine, meaning multiplication, plural, right? So Medecine, the mother's star of creation. And that's what she was. She was bringing forth the one who made all things. Think about it, okay? And that's why the pyramids are over there in Meitzar, because Meitzar, represents the power of the sun. Everything came out of the power of the star. Okay, so let me try it again. So Yeshua breathes to his 11. Now you know that the royal Malachia, Gabriel, Gavrezul, the giver of light, brought the message of my entrance to Medecine, to Mary. And we all breathe before him. Yea, our true, perfect, and complete sunrays, our sunrise. That's what Lord means in Old English. It's in Middle English. It means our sunrise. So when they referred to a king as Lord, they were actually calling him our sunrise, our provider. Because if you lived in the castle, guess who was your sire, right? The sire, the one who's taking care of everyone, is the Malach, which is corrupted into king for Cain, but in the Eastern it's Malach. Okay, so he is the sunrise. So they breathe before him. Yes, our perfect and complete sunrise. We remember. Then he replies and breathes before us. Do you then remember what I breathed before you then, that I became that hierarch, royal Malachia, or royal messenger, above all other royal Malachias, above all other royal messengers, because I am the giver of all light, as I am all things? And we breathe before him, yeah, our true, perfect, and complete sunrise. Then he replies and breathes before us. On that day, on that Dayel, when I took on the form of the hierarch, royal Malachia, Gabriel, Gavrezul, the giver of light, I appeareth before Medecine, Mary, and I made the announcement. Her heart received me. And what was the beginning of that announcement? Remember, it was rise and be healed by the light. Hail Mary, which is rise and be healed by the light. Medecine. Rise and be healed. And that's why when they went into Medecine, then they come out of Medecine again. You see, it's another version of the other version. When they came out of Egypt, which is correctly called Medecine. Okay, so he made the announcement. So I appeared before Medecine, or Mary, and I made the announcement. Her heart received me. The mother's eye with open arms and great trust, with pure elation, received me. Then by the word, the Eshavor, the royal center, the royal flaming sword, through her, in the receiving of these, my very sound vibrations entered into her womb and formed myself. I became her flesh, and I alone was the minister, the little star unto myself, with respect in what was observed by Medecine, Mary, the appearance of this unique form of the hierarch, the Arca Royal Malachiel, the royal messenger Gabriel, Gavrezul, the giver of light. And this seed I will place in all after I have returned back to my Father. And now you must commemorate my return in the resurrection that now passes over the death. Okay? So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, that she conceived by hearing. She received the sound vibration, and all creation began with sound vibrations. And Gabriel is Yeshua. And so the one who's making the announcement is the one that's going to be coming through her. Because as we read in Isaiah, he says, I am the great Zul of Haim, and there's none other beside me. There is only I. There are no other gods. There are no other spirits that fly through the night and go bump, And it says it over and over for 4 chapters straight, right in the middle of the book. I don't have it off the top of my head. But anyway, that's going to be published. That'll be in the back of the the Gospel of Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so it's in the addendum if you want to check that out. All right, and so that's all I'm going to be reading tonight here. And now we're going to bring on Ninja. She's got a few questions that she wants to throw at me. So Ninja, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Calling NinjaCat. All right.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, good, because it was buffering. I was wondering if there was a delay in Skype, but
Yeah,
it is all good.
It fixed itself. Yeah.
Okay, question time. Okay, I wanted to bring up something that we spoke about a couple of days ago. I've been looking at plants in a completely different way, plants that I grew up with in a completely different way lately, getting right into the foraging and something else that's been hidden from us, that food is everywhere. We just have to know where to look.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a garden.
Yes. Yes.
It's the lower garden, but it still feeds you. That's
yes,
the good news.
Yes. And I'm noticing, I said this to you the other day as well. We just need to know how to read. We just need to, like, regarding nature, we just have to, all the signs and symbols are there. We just have to know how to read it to know what is safe to eat and what it can do for us regarding our health. And one thing I've been noticing while I've been unlearning and relearning was that a lot of the wild plants, there's a duality there. There's like a mirror image there, because for as many plants that are safe to eat, there is a toxic look-alike most of the time that you have to be wary of. So you really have to know your stuff and not just go in and just grab anything. And one of these lookalikes, I was looking into wild grapes, and one of the lookalikes is called a moon grape. And I noticed that, well, I didn't notice it. The information was there.
Well, isn't it interesting that the moon is poison, by the way, because
Yep.
it represents the occultic?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's why a monster is a moon star.
and
Demon is a demoon. The moon. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I also have something to add to that as well.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, and the reason I was reading the information, the reason that it's called the moon grape is because of the shape of the seed, which is the shape of a half moon, which also looks like a D shape. And if anyone wants to go back on the programs, you're quite welcome. There's a lot there. Or check out Desert's dictionary. D shape. D means death. So that all seems to fit.
Well, it's the fourth letter in the alphabet, and it's the first three are symbols of light, and the fourth letter, the D, is the sun setting. And so the sun setting, the word for death in the ancient was westing, going west, meaning setting, meant death. And so that's the D for death.
Thank you. And one thing that I also noticed as well, which is what made me pay attention to this, was that thinking back to mainly older movies where they portray the elite or the rich or the privileged in some way. They're sitting there in their luxury being fed grapes. Like, grapes is looked at as like associated with that, and that's what made me think, like, with the moon grapes and the seed shape and how they're toxic. Yeah, so signs and symbols. And also, what was interesting was the safe wild grape to eat has a teardrop shaped seed, which is like a water drop, and water is life. Yeah,
Right.
thank you. Um,
Mhm.
you mentioned D Moon, and I have written here D Man. People today, in their slang jargon, in their slang talk, you've probably heard people say you're demand, you're demand, DA, you're demand. Yeah, it just made me think of that. D man, da man. Any comment?
Well, no, we described the D already, so we know where that is. There's nothing more to
Okay.
add to that.
Okay. Okay, next question. Is
Right.
there?
And it doesn't, and I just want to add, it doesn't always mean negative because it's on somebody's name like David or Dan or anything. It's just that it has a primary meaning and use, but it doesn't mean it's bad because you got it, you know. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Is there another word for seed? Is there another word for seed? SEED.
Well, right. Seed is a corruption, and it's got the D at the end of it because they killed the word. Okay, so it's not seed. I guess I can type in the chat now. So since we're looking at this, and there's a silent T in front of it because it's the royalty because that's where life came from the royal sovereign of the universe. So TSEED, and hold back now, everybody, on typing in the chat while I do this, okay, so that we don't miss any spaces. And so we take off the D, and what do we got left? TSEE. Okay, and so now we got the C. You'll notice sometimes when I'm doing E slash TSEAT like this, you see? So the seed is also the seat because when the man is sitting in a chair, that's where the seed is planted, right? So it's the seat, but it's also you see how it's synonymous. But what do they say about the Pope? He sits in the holy SEA SEE. Both, again, the sound is the same, right? So when you go out to the ocean, right? What are you doing when you're going out in the ocean? You don't want to get lost, right? So you're going to sea. You're looking. You're navigating. You got to know how to read the stars. You got to know where you are, right? So you're going out there, and so the seed. So when you have the seed and you're planting a field, what happens? You get from the seed. You get the sea. You get an ocean, right? That field that was planted with those little seeds all of a sudden becomes an ocean of waves, right? It blows in the wind and it looks like waves. Are you with me?
Yes. I just want to say, guys, just hit refresh if you've been kicked off. We're buffering at the moment, but it's just come
Yeah.
good. Yep.
All right.
So
Yeah, just remember you hit refresh if you have a stall out, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so what we're dealing with, and I'd have to look it up in the Indo-Germanic dictionaries, but the prime root then is probably could be like this, SAY, because the AY, well, actually, it'd be like this, TZAY, like that, the Zay, that's probably the most primitive form because the AY equals the I. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Because the I is the little bead, right? You got to look at it to see it, right? So you're looking with your eye and with your A, actually pronounced A. You're looking with your A, and then then it becomes the Z, and so then we find the word in that the word Z, Z-E-D, which is at the end, right? At the last letter is called Z, but correctly it would be T-Z-A-Y. And when we get to the end of our story, we want to become the seed, right? When we get to the end of the story, we want to be the seed of light, right? Seed of light. So that shows you the challenge that we have in being able to find that prime root. But Z is probably the close, because the Z is more correct. The Z is more correct for navigating, right? Because if you're going up against the wind, you got to go what they call zigzag, right? Zigzag. So the S in navigating on the ocean is not correct with the S. The symbol is the last letter of the alphabet, the Z. Oh yeah, yeah. We've had it all happen to us. Apex 46, good to have you on the broadcast. Thank you. So that's all I can do off the top of my head. But you see, it's the word seed and seat and SEA, SCE, all are relative. They go back to a common root, and TZAY is probably the most accurate for the primitive. Okay, these are prime root forms. The A was there. The T was there at the beginning. The Z was there at the beginning, and the Y, which is two lines that come together. The yin yang come together, creating life. Come together, make one, right? So that's the prime root, TZAY, and so that's the best I can do, without getting the books out. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Do you want another question?
Sure, Ninja. And I want to welcome any new listeners out there. Okay, glad to have you. We go down a deep rabbit hole here because we're talking about what basically nobody else is talking about, the Indo-Germanic mother tongue, which is also known as Aramaic. Then it's split into all different directions. All the European tongues are basically Indo-Germanic, and that includes Latin and Hebrew, Portuguese, German, French, Spanish, you name it, English, Anglish, the angler on the hook, Greek, Hebrew, Chaldee, Egyptian, what is a misnomer, but which is also then evolved into Coptic. All of that Indo-Germanic. There's a common thread from the Aryan race through the Aryan, and we don't promote Aryanism as some superior culture. We're just identifying the historical thread, of this tradition. The Aryan race was significant, which is a story for another day, but you can find out about it by going to the Cosmic Essence if you want to get up to speed, okay? So, Ninja, what's your next question?
Okay, so I was looking in your dictionary. I was curious about the word Lord, Lord, because it has a D on the end. And because I could see law, remove the D and you have law, as in natural law. And so I was wondering if they hid that by putting the D on the end. Is that a way?
Are you
that they
associating with the word law? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, as in natural
All right.
law.
No. First of all, I told you that the word Lord means sunrise, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the last letter? As I said, they kill the words with letters, right? The S's and the D's in particular. So they put a D, which is a symbol of the sun setting, while it's Lord implies my sunrise. Then they kill it, by putting the symbol of the sunset at the end of it, which is therefore called classically the black sun, because they always put out the eye of the sun, right? They're culting it, and so lore, then you just drop the D. The first thing you do is you drop the D, being a negative, and then then you get the lore, Lore, right? You get lore, and so lore is like a legacy, right? There's a legend that goes behind the sun when you know the truth about creation, that everything came out of the light and everything has to go back to the light, right? So it's a lore. And so isn't the sun a lure? You wake up when you see the sun coming through your window, right? It lures you. right? So
Thank
my
you.
lore, yeah, my lore is probably, you know, more correct. The fish sees the lure, it sees it flickering in the water, and it goes for it, thinks it's a little shiner, right? A little fish, and then it finds out it's on the hook. You know, so you know, these are the things that how the tricks that they've used on our words. They kill the words, you know, just like David, okay, is really, here's a classic example with the D, right? David is correctly Tavat. Tavat. You see, so now we've got the Ava, the woman right in the middle, who we call Eve, right? She's in the middle. And at the end, we got the royalties. And so the royalty, the symbol of the seed from the beginning, then at the other end of the word, at the end, when Yeshua's nailed to the tree and he brings forth a new creation, a perfect race called the seed of light that want to be separate from the world, to be born again, second born. Were stained in blood. But there's more to those stories, you know.